What is up, guys and gals? My name is Splattercat, and we are here at Helgar's Hole for another episode of Shining Rock's Banished. I think what I'm going to do first, and I really want to kind of get this set up systematically, if you know what I mean. I want to take a look around my lands because I've been playing my own maps on the side, and one of the side effects of doing that is I often forget what I've been doing while we've been standing around in our city. So let's have a look around. I know that we had a pretty big fire earlier, which caused me to distribute a lot of wells around. Looks like we have a trader docked in. Oh yes, the individual with the sheeps. Well then, what do we want to do with him? So he's one of those guys that I really actually do want to fill up another sheep farm if I can. Simply because, well, you guys get what I mean. I really want to have more sheep so that I can produce more wool and therefore have more clothing to trade off. I think it might be also a good plan at some point to start throwing in some extra tools, because those are pretty much universal trading items. Like, what I've noticed as we've gone through the game is that traders don't really seem to like food that much, but they really like coats and they really like tools, because those are the sorts of things that really just seem to be like those universal credits for getting things done. I don't necessarily think that we're going to be able to... It depends how long he's going to hang tight. I think if we could go through and maybe bring out like 40 tools, that'll give us 2 sheep right there, because 15 times 40 is, yeah, that's 600, so... Let's bring 40 tools over, and if we've got the time, and he doesn't bail on us too quickly, because they have really short attention spans. These traders are just like, I'll go over later, I'll be back next year, see you later, guys! And that's pretty much how they function. So, hopefully if we can get the tools down here, it's only 40, so we should be alright. Come on now. Get them tools on up in there. You guys can do it, I believe in you. You guys are masters of the tool. There's only 25, come on. 25 in the stockpile. I believe in you. I believe in you so much right now, citizens. I believe in... Well, I may have to stop believing in you if you screw this up. Like, this is not a hard task. There it is. So there's the 40. And so what I want to do now is we will take... Oh, the tools aren't worth as much. Damn it. I thought the tools were worth 15 like the coats were. Well, that means we'd actually have to... Let me see what the numbers are going to look like here. That's going to put us at 920. Weak. I would have to liquidate a lot of stuff in order to make this work. And I don't think that's going to be in our best benefit right now. I think we're probably just going to have to wait until our stockpiles are looking a little bit more robust. We're not really in a trading situation right now, so I'm going to dismiss him. You can click that button at any time to tell him to piss off and just fly off into the wind. I don't really know where he comes from, but he comes from somewhere. We also want to start thinking about... I've been reading up on the markets because I haven't used one yet. And reading up on the markets, it really seems as though that might be a useful way to stop having to use all these storage barns. Essentially what the market does, from what I understand, is you place the market, and really with the way that we're set up at the moment, I don't think the market's going to do us a whole lot of good. However, what the market does is basically you hire people and they will haul stuff from all these little barns back to the market, and it creates a centralized location where everybody gets their stuff from. So realistically, if we build some more houses, like a really great spot for the market would be like somewhere in here in the middle if we had built over here. But in any case, I don't really think that we have... I don't think we have the geography on this map. Like, the map is really cut up by a lot of random mountain ranges and things, to where creating a centralized location of distribution is going to be sort of an exercise in futility, simply based on the fact that we just have a lot of geographical challenges to look at. So I think what I'm going to do in this episode, taking a look, we don't have a lot of extra laborers, and I think we're looking good on just about everything other than the wood that we have available. Let me take a look at my jobs and make sure that everybody's stocked up on what we need them to be stocked up on. We have 2 blacksmiths. We could use a few more miners. Our iron is definitely always looking a little bit low. But we also want to start thinking about... Both of my farms are working at full yield. Okay, so we've got a lot of food sitting around. In fact, we've got a ton of food sitting around, and I think we could get away with probably putting another 1,000 pumpkin in here. I mean, I really do think that we're probably not going to go through that much. And so let's throw another 1,000 pumpkin up in our inventory. I do wish there was a way to do like one-time infusions into here, and I kind of wonder if it'll do it automatically if I... Well, I don't think it will. In any case, I do wish that I didn't set this to like always have an extra 1,000. We'll go 1,700 pumpkin in here, so that when we get around to it, I think that I like the clicky noise. So if you're saying I could have typed that in, I know I could type it in. I realize that there are simpler ways that I can do this, but the clicky noise, it makes me happy deep down inside. I do the same thing with my Mountain Blade Warband playthrough. I have to click everything like every single time because I really like the ticky noise. It's the same thing when I play video games where you pick up lots of gold off the ground. I have to have that clinky noise for everything that I pick up. Like, if they just kind of round it off into one clinky noise for like 1,000 coins, doesn't make me happy enough. I can't stand that. What are we low on? The reserve, oh, firewood is looking kind of low. It's understandable. I think we got 3 guys chopping firewood right now, though. We got 1 there, we got 1 there. Are they all working? And our log supply over here is a little bit minuscule. Well, all I could really do, we've got 3 foresters' lodges all working towards... Oh, they don't have a stockpile over here. Okay, so let's fix that first. I'm starting to notice these little inefficiencies that I tend to really kind of drop all over the place on accident. And I think... I don't know where the best place to put this is going to be. But it doesn't appear to be like holding a lot of stuff, so maybe we'll go like right there and it'll just be a little one for holding wood, and that'll be its only job. Its only purpose in life is holding our wood, and you can insert whatever joke you feel like inserting right there. That's right, that was our obligatory wood joke that is automatic. It has to be made, no matter what, it has to be made. For example, if I was fishing for crabs, I would have had plenty of jokes for that as well, but luckily this isn't like a main type situation where we're looking for lobsters and kind of crustaceans of varying varieties, so we'll work it all out. And so I think that was the big problem, is this guy didn't have a place to drop off his firewood, which is kind of slowing down the process. Weird inefficiencies. This game is very much kind of an exercise in how long you can last before you screw up your own workflow, or you build something that's just like an inefficient distribution method. That appears to be like the real ball and chain around your ankle, or really kind of the bola that they're trying to throw at you at any given moment. Luckily, it's just Ebola, and it's lacking like the suffix or the prefix. It's lacking the E prefix at the beginning. Where at Ebola, we would need a lot more doctors, and plus it would make me kind of concerned about what we're doing with our sewage. Although it is kind of medieval times, so I assume they're just like throwing it out of the windows into the street or whatever it was they did back then. That is brutal, by the way. I found out about that when I was growing up, how like people back in the day used to just throw their sewage out of their windows into the street. Like, God, it's no wonder everybody was just sick all the time. Everybody's dying of pandemics every 3 to 4 minutes. Firewood is dropping off a little bit more rapidly than I would prefer. They are chopping down... What jobs... Do I have them, or are they just doing that on their... Okay, the foresters are wiping out the iron over here so as to make more room for logs. The log limit I may lower down to 400 for now, because I don't think we're going to need it at 500. 500 seems a little bit excessive with where we're standing. Checking all my efficiency right now, making sure everything's functioning properly. I did want to apologize. Some people have said that I play the game at too rapid of a pace, but with city builders, I get bored. If things are like down at like the 2x speed, I really do find myself just going, ugh, and just really feeling the need to just like headbutt a wall. I really do prefer that things run a bit quicker. All of those are inside the radius that we require. We have the storage barn, so we got a bunch of food coming in over here. I'm not really sure why logs are not being chopped at the ratio that I need them to be chopped at. I do feel like we're wiping out forests down here pretty quickly, which could lead to kind of a weird situation in which we run out of food. This place doesn't appear to be working at all. Then again, he does have a pretty long walk to get back to the stockpile, so you never really know what's holding up the process here. We may recover our log supply once we get back to it being spring and whatnot. Everybody's not burning quite so much wood on a daily basis. I have noticed that their use really kind of fluctuates in between the seasons. To help out with the situation a bit, I think we may want to like deforest that right there. Just kind of some of the extra trees that have been growing all over our society. Get rid of these ones in the middle of town too. Just extra wood to have around. We do have laborers here. We can chop down these ones over here. Basically anything that's growing inside the city limits to help augment our stockpile, because it is looking really bad. Did I move logs over to here? What's going on over here? No, that was in another one of my playthroughs that I was moving logs around. Alright, so we need to come up with a solution right now. We're definitely not having enough logs, so it appears as though that's going to be the problem of the day. We've got 81 citizens. We're approaching 100 people, which is pretty impressive. I think that's really... This game kind of functions in that, like, every kind of 1 hour of gameplay, you come up with a new problem that you have to solve. And right now it appears to be logs, although we are recovering now, finally. I'm trying to think of... Maybe I should probably put in a bridge right here and get another logging expedition going on this side, and maybe build along the river over here. When you look at the way that cities are assembled, it is pretty common that they build along rivers, so I may not be able to use this area for anything other than another gathering slash forestry zone. Once again, you kind of have to figure out where all these logs are going, though. Like, where are all these logs being consumed from, and where is the holdup in our process? I think it may be because that hauling zone is too far. We do have a lot of extra stone, so we may seek to improve our speed by building a road right here. seeing as we do have a bit of extra stone. I mean, not a ton, but we have enough to where we can upgrade that road and maybe make his hauling life a little bit easier. Simply based on the fact that the woodcutter over here, well, our wood supply, I'm pretty happy as long as we have the firewood we need. Everything else isn't really that big of an issue so long as firewood is where we want it to be. We have a fuel limit of 400 right there. We'll keep an eye on it, and it looked like the last winter it really dropped off on us. Like our fire was just like, I'm out of here, and decided not to participate anymore. We got another trader. Let's go ahead and see what this merchant wants. It's the sheep trader again. This guy is really trying to unload these sheep, and unfortunately, I just do not have the supplies in order to make this happen. I mean, I don't think he's really interested in herbs. I could throw some herbs in here and see if maybe that would work out, but I can't spare any extra tools right now. I can't really spare any extra clothing. I think it may be time for... How many tailors do I have assigned? Let's go back through. I only have one tailor. That could be the problem. Do we have a lot of leather coming in up there? We have a lot of leather there. We have a reasonable amount of leather and no wool. Do we have any wool up here? He must be hauling from there. Do I have him making... What is he making right now? Wool coats? Okay, so I'm going to have him strapped for just leather since he only has a leather supply. And then what I'm going to do over here since we have the sheep farm, we're going to optimize this a slight bit. And I'm going to build another tailor up and over possibly... Let me look at how far... Maybe like right here. And we'll have him do the other style of coats, like maybe either wool and or the heavy coats that they really, really like. Because we do have extra laborers sitting around, so this might be an astute use of our time. Our housing is looking okay. We've got a lot of extra spaces for anybody that grows up right now. Some of the areas are a little bit more... Well, no, it's actually pretty well distributed right now. I'm happy. I'm happy with where all the kids and where all the adults are at. I think if they were like in a weird distribution pattern, I'd be like, go over there, sir. You don't belong to be over here. Or you weren't supposed to be over here, I guess would be a better way to assemble that sentence if I didn't want to gnaw on it first. Got wells, we've got wells. Everything's looking alright. I'm feeling pretty pleased with our progress right now. All that I can hope is that our log supply recovers for a little bit. The road has been installed, and from what I can tell, let me go ahead and slow down the action here for a second. And it doesn't look as though they travel any faster, so I'm watching these guys. And they're cutting corners too, which I have to assume that the developers were probably astute enough to program them to where if it was efficient to cut corners, they cut corners. If they just cut corners and it's inefficient, I would be a little bit concerned about it, but I think we're okay. We need to recover stone for a little bit. Our quarry has 6 people working in it, which I think is a pretty good workforce. In my other game, I think I have, possibly 4 people working in it. It seems to keep us pretty squared away. We may want to consider building stone houses too, although it looks like it takes a lot of stone to do so. And it would be a long project going house by house. You can click this little button here if you didn't know about it. You can click this tiny little button to upgrade your houses from the wood houses into stone houses, and it makes your life a little bit easier as you play through the game. Makes the optimization a bit quicker. Sheep farmer's just going to have to wait because I can't afford to really jump in on another... I've got nothing to trade at the moment, and that's going to be our big problem. Once this tailor gets going, we may have a few more trade goods to be used. Wood supply is recovering slightly, but now that we're in autumn, you are going to see a drop-off in our stored logs. So once again, we're going to have to kind of keep an eye on this number right here and watch and make sure that nothing kind of out of the ordinary is occurring, because if that's something we need to focus on, I'll end up building a bridge right here and we'll set up another logging camp just as rapidly as we can, possibly with a storage zone right here. I feel as though I'm very inefficient at the moment. What I might do is once we get some flat ground, I may get rid of one of these farms. And I may build a market right here to centralize everything so that I can get rid of that. I can get rid of that. I don't know. I really don't know where I should be putting a market. This right here is looking pretty sexy for the time being. Let me look and see how large the market is. We could fit a market right there, which would really kind of alleviate a lot of problems. The distribution pattern of that right there would hit just about everything and would allow me to get rid of a lot of the buildings that are wasting their time on other stuff. So that might be a good call. We'll see what happens. I may get rid of these 2 houses, like rebuild them somewhere else, like off in this direction because we do have extra space, at which point that would make a great spot for us to drop in. Yeah, I think that may be where I put the market. I really wanted to centralize it, and that'll make sure that it hits most of this stuff over here without abandoning everybody. Some of these guys over here are still gonna have to make a long walk, but what can you do? Sometimes you gotta walk a long ways in life. That's just the way it goes. Like, you know, at my college, they put the parking lot like 50 miles from campus. I don't know why they plan to do that, but every college I've ever seen, it's never like you can like get out of your car and go to class. You have to get out of your car and walk across like 10 miles of bike trail. And then finally, once you're on campus, you're like, oh my, that was quite the workout. You can actually use it to augment your walking running schedule. We've got an extra tailor over here. Let's go ahead and assign him. And what I'd like him to do is, since we've got wool stacked up over here, let's go ahead and he's going to make warm coats. He's going to bust out as many warm coats as possible. Coats, they are busted. If you didn't know that, that's a little tailoring secret that's kept under the table by the tailoring cartels. Like, it's really kind of a seedy underworld. Like, there's a bunch of tailors, and they all get together, and they talk about what prices they're going to sell their coats at, and they break the kneecaps on anybody that tries to, like, be a scab or anything like that. But that's one of their little secrets, is that coats are busted. You don't cut them, you don't sew them, you bust a coat. So basically, you sit it there on a big rack, and then you freeze it, and then you hit it with a hammer, and it just falls out in coat shape. And now I have extolled to you the secrets of the coat making universe, and they'll probably be knocking on my door in a few days to bust my knees about it. So yeah, it's looking as though a new firewood situation may be in the cards for us. I still haven't played around with the possibility or the prospect of having two foresters that overlap. I do have this little tunnel right here that would make my life a bit easier. So let's connect that with a road to the main road. We'll also connect it to right there for efficiency's sake. And then what we might do is kind of create a connecting thoroughfare over here where I can put in another forester. I think this is going to be a good solution rather than having to waste wood building a bridge over here. I think that's kind of a unique situation that we could get ourselves into. If I put another forester down here outside the range of this one, so maybe plop it right here so that they're kind of functioning within the same zones, but at the same time they're only sharing like a small portion of their hemisphere. That might work out in our favor. I don't really think that that's going to be anything that's going to backfire on us. At the moment, we are staying afloat. It's just every time we get to winter, I'm seeing a lot of the firewood and a lot of our logs drop off. It seems like we just don't have either the production facilities for logs to get the job done, or B, well, A or B. It's either we don't have the logs in order to get... I think it's because firewood's running out sooner. That, and these guys are really, really greedy. If you look at some of these houses, I guarantee you there's somebody in here who has like 600 firewood in his house. Every now and again, you just get that one guy who's like the end of the worlder, and he just feels like he needs 400 firewood by comparison to everybody else's 20. And I don't know what triggers that. Like, maybe the characters have different personalities. Like, some of them are just inherently programmed to be assholes. But what I've noticed is that some people are like, it's my firewood, and you look at their house, and they've got like 50 stacks of firewood in their house, when everybody else has like 10 or 15, and you're just like, alright, whatever. You're a jerk, but I don't really know how to fix this, so I suppose I'll just leave it where it's at. I think a Forester's Lodge right here. Well, let's cut down on how many stones we're going to have to bust up, but I think that's pretty good right there, because then they're only sharing like this small portion. That's like your little Venn diagram. They've got like that little overlapping zone, but it should be okay. It should be alright. And so once we get some people down here, we've already got the laborers ready to go in order to make this new thing work. We've got a couple more laborers that have now been assigned, so we may be able to put a woodcutter. I think I may put a stockpile right here. And then maybe another woodcutter over here, because I think this is probably the preliminary zone where a lot of the wood is being taken from. If you look at the congestion of our houses, we may think about putting a stockpile here, and then another woodcutter right here, or possibly a woodcutter right here and a stockpile right here, just so that, well, if I put a stockpile right here, I'll be sabotaging myself a little bit. It'll be a little bit of the sabotaggy. And so if I sabotage myself, they won't be running logs back to over here anymore. It'll make this woodcutter have to go further. So as you can see, the game quickly degenerates into kind of like a question of efficiencies, which is never something that I've been good at. Like, if you've ever watched my Factorio playthrough, I really am just terrible at anything that requires any modicum of efficiency. If we have enough logs to get this done, I'll be happy. We may also want to set up another mining expedition down here for coal, so that we can start messing with the possibility of... He's out of wool. Surprisingly, you don't get as much wool out of these critters as you'd think you would. Out of 9 sheep, you were just really not getting it done. We may want to expand the boundaries of some of these other... Like, these are really kind of small and not getting anything done for us. So what I may do is when we cross the river, I may relocate all of this, and we may just have like a really, really big sheep pen over here somewhere to make our lives Because 9 sheep, I wish they would pump out a little bit more wool. It's the big thing is I think you only harvest wool in like one season. I don't remember what season it is. There's sheep farms around where I live, but I don't really pay attention to the shearing schedules. I'm more like, oh, look at the adorable sheep. I want to pet it. Oh my god. Oh my god, look at the sheeps. And also the alpacas. Everybody has alpacas around here, and I totally want to pet them, except that I've heard that they're like a little bit bitey and also spitty, and so I'm actually kind of terrible. Somebody told me one time, I asked, how do you tell the difference between a llama and an alpaca? And somebody says the alpaca is the one that looks like it's judging you, which led me to believe that like alpacas are a little bit snootier than just like your general purpose llama. But in any case, I'm kind of like Carl from Jimmy Neutron, which I love Jimmy Neutron. And it's not even when I was a kid. When I was like 20 years old, I loved Jimmy Neutron, as I would sit down in the evening to watch Jimmy Neutron. Guys, can we get this job done, or did I slow you down? I slowed you down. That's why. I have retarded all of my citizens. As much as they are kind of handicapped already, we'll assign 4 more right there. That'll get us going with some more logs. And let's think about where a good spot to place a stockpile would be. So I think a stockpile over here wouldn't be particularly awful. I think we could get away with it. So let's get rid of some of these trees over here while we're sitting around waiting for it. I know they'll chop it down automatically when I put in the stockpile, but I just wanted to make sure that it gets done. And we'll put that right there, just kind of as an extra zone for them to put wood. And we're going to keep an eye on our log stockpile, and I think this was really kind of an episode that was dedicated to the lumberjacking pursuits. Like, we're finding lumber, and we are just trying to jack it as quickly as possible. And actually, I think that might be why our efficiency is a little bit low, if I can be so crass. Our citizens seem to spend a lot of time behind closed doors just not doing whatever it is I've assigned them to do. And you know how that goes. In any case, we've got lots of things being planted over here, and I've really got to get away from saying "in any case" because that's really become like my go-to phrase. One thing that you'll notice if you ever start LPing is that you'll develop go-to phrases, and it's just like these random things that you use to segue in between positions, like dialogue positions. You kind of just swap in between by any means possible. We're also out of leather over here, which is pretty heartily disappointing. All things considered, I'm doing my best I can to really kind of wipe out all things nature and get as much leather as possible, but they're not making my life easy. What are you selling? Cattle. They cost even more, which really makes me kind of sad because I would love to. I bet cattle produce a lot of food and a lot of leather. If you skin a cow, I get the feeling you can make a couple coats out of a cow. Well, instead of having a cow here, I really sort of wish that I could sell off some of these random things that I have to make this happen, but he really doesn't seem to be interested in anything other than coats and tools. I can afford to send another 40 tools over here. So let's do that for a minute or two. And if I send that over, we've got 640 and then 600, so we've got 1280, which still isn't going to be enough to lock down. It'll be enough to trade for sheep once the sheep come back. So we'll dismiss him so that at a later date we can get more sheep. And then we'll just kind of keep our nose to the grindstone and kind of just be aware of all the things that are occurring. Our log situation appears to be recovering a little bit, which is nice. We've got 9 laborers that we need to assign. I didn't even see that coming. We're running out of iron over here on this mine, so I may consider putting the new mine in. I don't know. This was kind of the optimal position for us for a mine. The rest of the mountains tend to be too squiggly, and I just can't seem to get the rubber bandbox kind of lumbered in there, I suppose. I'm trying to weasel it in, but there just doesn't seem to be like a crevice to like sneak myself into and just kind of nestle within its kind of its folds, its mountainy folds. But in any case, I think this is about enough for this episode. My name is Splattercat. Thank you for joining me at the Nerd Castle for another episode of Banished. I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Take care out there, everybody, and hi-do.